Discover 4 incredible yogurts that transform arthritis pain for those over 60 and boost strength. Judy sat at the edge of her garden, the smell of fresh-cut grass perfuming the air around her as the sun warmed her skin. Around her, the vibrant colors of the flowers bloomed, a testament to her years of nurturing this little piece of paradise. Yet, as she gingerly lifted a trowel, a familiar ache coursed through her fingers, a bitter reminder of the arthritis that had crept into her life like an unwanted guest. Each movement was a negotiation with her body, an uncomfortable realization of how fragile her independence felt these days. It was a sunny Saturday, the kind of perfect day that beckoned families to the backyard for barbecues. Judy had prepared everything with love, hoping to distract herself from the constant reminder of her physical limitations. Then her younger sister's voice broke through the laughter, her latest health regimen spilling forth like an unyielding stream. "You won't believe what I found, Judy. For yogurts that are proven to help with arthritis, maybe they could actually make a difference for you." Doubt flickered in Judy's chest, followed by a spark of hope. Could something as simple as yogurt really alter her reality? She had spent years battling exhaustive pain, her fingers often curling into fists as if trying to protect herself from the fragility she felt within. The thought of needing help from her 3 children, a notion she had become accustomed to glorifying, now felt like a weight too heavy to bear. Did she really want to lean on them, to expose her vulnerabilities? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Judy's heart raced with confusion. She had spent years imparting strength to her children, yet here she sat, on the verge of surrendering control of her own body. The images of kinder times flashed in her mind, giggling children, carefree summers, and strength that felt limitless. Would these yogurts truly let her reclaim what she felt slipping away? As she navigated the aisles at her local grocery store, her anxiety grew with each yogurt she examined. Some of her family's concerned looks were almost tangible. They didn't understand the depth of her fight, the emotional toll that aging weighed upon her. With every spoonful consumed, she floated between a fragile balance of hope and skepticism. What if they didn't work? What if her family found her weaknesses too glaring to overlook? Days rolled into weeks, with Judy feeling as though she were treading water, trying to stay afloat in a sea of uncertainty. Just when Judy thought she could embrace the possibility of independence, her restless heart sank as she stumbled upon a forgotten treasure, a weathered recipe book tucked away in her mother's chest, filled with whispers of herbal remedies that could blend seamlessly with her newfound interest in yogurts. As she turned the yellowed pages, the tension tightened around her. Could she truly bridge the gap between tradition and modern remedies? What if embracing these recipes stirred deeper family bonds, or tore them apart? The questions buzzed like relentless insects as her mind raced ahead. What awaited her beyond that threshold? Would she find the connection she longed for, or lose the essence of who she thought she was? Judy stood on the precipice of transformation, feeling the weight of her choices like ever-looming clouds ready to burst. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting soft shadows over Judy's garden as she settled back onto her worn wooden bench, the recipe book heavy in her lap. Each worn page felt like the weight of years filled with family gatherings, laughter, the warmth of shared meals. Yet, this time, the pages were a reminder of her mother's wisdom, a stark contrast to Judy's current turmoil. Could she create something transformative from these handwritten secrets? As her fingers traced the delicate script, memories flickered. Her mother had spent hours in that kitchen, infusing love into every dish served. Could Judy embody that same spirit? The realization sent a surge of determination through her. But self-doubt tightened its grip. What if the update on her health didn't align with this nostalgic revival? The idea of failure loomed like a dark cloud, dimming her spirit. Yet there was a flicker within her. Instead of just experimenting with the yogurts, she envisioned a new identity, a connector of past and present. Combining the ancient wisdom with the benefits of modern probiotics felt less like an extravagant leap and more like a conversation with who she was meant to be at this stage in her life. The following day, armed with fresh ingredients and a renewed sense of purpose, she began to experiment. As she crafted a yogurt that merged her mother's herbal remedy for inflammation with the newfound probiotics she had embraced, every stir felt exhilarating. Each taste tested not only for flavor, but also for the potent potential to ease her physical discomfort. The act itself became therapeutic, a balm for her restless thoughts, a reminder that she still wielded control over her choices. Days turned into a fervent routine. Judy noted her progress diligently, documenting every trial, every error. That journal became not just a recipe book, but an account of her resurgence. Slowly, she began to feel a shift not just in her cooking, but in herself. The more she embraced the merging of past and present, the more she noticed her mobility improving. Each ache dulled, and her spirit danced freely, unfettered by the fears that once anchored her. In sharing her creations with her family, a ripple effect emerged. Inviting them to taste her new blends not only created opportunities for bonding, but also ignited a shared interest in health. Her children, intrigued, began asking questions and joining her in the kitchen, turning what had once been a solitary battle against her limitations into a collective family endeavor. For the first time in years, laughter echoed freely around her as they experimented, each spoonful serving as a bridge between generations. Standing among her blossoming garden one evening, the air thick with the fragrance of blooming flowers, Judy realized she had forged a new path intertwined with her heritage. The recipe book was no longer just a collection of old remedies. It was a testament to her journey of rediscovery and resilience. Yet, with new milestones on the horizon, an unsettling thought crept in. What if she started sharing this chapter of her life with the world outside her family? Would her story resonate, or would it expose vulnerabilities she wasn't ready to share? As her thoughts tumbled through this new conundrum, a spark ignited within her, a flicker of bravery. The time had come to face this new boundary, igniting an even deeper transformation that lay ahead. The following days felt like a turning point for Judy. With each batch of yogurt she crafted, her confidence solidified. The recipes transformed into an evolving narrative, her mother's flavors intricately woven with modern techniques that spoke to her own journey. She reveled in the joy of creation, but alongside that joy came the gnawing question: was sharing this journey publicly wise? Sitting at her kitchen table one morning, a glaring laptop screen mocked her hesitation. She had been toying with the idea of starting a blog, a platform where she could unveil her culinary creations intertwined with personal stories. But the very thought turned her stomach. What if critics scoffed? What if this nebulous audience failed to connect with her experiences? Despite the bubbling excitement within her, fear lingered like an unwanted guest. After several deep breaths, she opened a blank document. Words trickled onto the page, initially hesitant and awkward. But as she chronicled her story from grappling with physical pain to infusing life into cherished recipes, a current of authenticity surged through her prose. She realized her narrative was not merely about yogurt. It was about resilience, family, and bridging generations. This was a narrative worth sharing, she thought. As she dipped back into memories, reflecting on the moments spent with her children in the kitchen, she recalled their laughter while bursting into spontaneous dance moves between mixing bowls. Those moments glowed with a light that felt transformative to her. It was one thing to concoct these delights. It was another to recognize the joy they brought not just to her, but to her family. Each evening, she stole moments to write, capturing her process in a style that felt authentic yet polished. With every paragraph, she stripped away the layers of self-doubt, revealing not just her culinary endeavors, but her evolution as a person and a mother. Still, a knot tightened in her chest as she hovered over the publish button again and again. It was common to fear exposure. It was an entirely different beast to open up her heart and soul to the world. Compounding these thoughts was an unexpected push from her children. Recognizing her fervor for this new project, they urged her to showcase their family kitchen sessions online, inviting viewers to not just observe, but join in the evolving story. "Mom, if we love it, others will too." her youngest had exclaimed, enthusiasm lighting his eyes. Their faith fueled a flicker of courage inside her. That evening, with her kids' voices echoing in her mind, she decided to run an informal test. She invited a small group of friends over for an impromptu tasting party. The intent was to gauge their reactions to her creations, while also probing their interest in her potential series of cooking entries. As the guests wandered in, sharing playful banter and laughter, Judy felt a rush of energy. The once daunting notion of sharing her journey with the world morphed into an exhilarating possibility. As plates filled with her yogurts made their debut, she was met with curiosity and delight. Each spoonful sparked conversations about recipes, health, and family traditions. For the first time in ages, her heart raced with both fear and excitement, not from doubt, but from a burgeoning anticipation for what lay ahead. Yet amid the revelry, a shadow of anxiety crept in. Would this small gathering lead to her breakthrough, or would it expose deeper insecurities? The question loomed larger as she realized stepping into the spotlight meant embracing vulnerability. She was about to confront the most significant challenge, yet not just in crafting recipes, but in daring to share her essence with the world. The moment of truth was imminent, and Judy wrestled with the weight of her decision as she prepared to take another step forward. Would she embrace her newfound identity as a storyteller all while risking the safety of her emotional walls? In that uncertain space, she felt the pulse of her journey quickening, ready to unfold into a chapter she hadn't yet written. Judy's heart thudded in her chest as she stood by the window the next morning, sunlight streaming through the glass, illuminating the kitchen where just the night before so much had shifted. Her fingers drummed nervously on the countertop as she replayed the evening in her mind, the laughter, the delight in her friends' eyes as they tasted her creations. It was exhilarating, but now it felt like standing on the edge of a precipice. The urge to write, to share, pulsed within her. Yet that nagging doubt clung like a shadow. She wanted to turn her blog idea into reality, to weave not just yogurt recipes, but also threads of her life, her struggles with pain, and her journey toward healing. But what if her vulnerabilities, once laid bare, became the very fodder for ridicule? Did she truly possess the tenacity to maintain her authenticity in the face of potential judgment? Judy shook her head clear and turned back toward her laptop, its screen flickering with promise and deceit. With an inhalation of determination, she sat down and began an outline for her first blog post. As the words formed, she found she could not shrug off the essence of her story. It called to her, demanding to be told. Cooking was her medium, but the overarching narrative was something far more significant: her own healing journey, colored by family and tradition. The remnants of doubt lingered, but as she wrote, they twisted from a feeling of fear into a palpable energy. Her words grew bolder. She pauses to remind herself that the very act of writing could turn their familial secrets into shared knowledge. Perhaps her experiences could resonate with others grappling with similar questions about health and wellness. Dreams of connection filled her senses as she imagined readers finding solace or inspiration in her trials. With every keystroke, she noticed an unexpected shift within herself, a flicker of strength nudging her forward. To quell her growing excitement, Judy decided to step back and create a plan for what her blog could look like. She envisioned sections dedicated to recipes, personal anecdotes, and tips on living with chronic pain, incorporating a blend of humor and heart. The thought ignited a warm surge of energy, an anticipation to leap beyond the limits of her past hesitations. Later that afternoon, as she stirred another batch of yogurt on the stove, the familiar clinking of pots and the dance of aromas filled her senses, grounding her. Her children ran in and out of the kitchen, engrossed in their own activities. The laughter crescendoed around her, yet a new realization settled in the heart of her chaos. The blog could be a legacy, something her kids could look back on, a testament to their family's love for cooking and resilience. Once again, her heart raced at a thought: what if they collaborated? Their unique personalities and stories fused into each blog entry could transform the experience. An idea took shape in her mind, inspiring her to gather her children for brainstorming. She felt deeply that they could help her distill these emotions into a language that was relatable, dynamic, and full of life. Call it a family project, she thought, deliberately inviting them into this journey. The The thrill of involving them ignited another wave of motivation within her. Wouldn't it be exhilarating to share not just her own voice, but also theirs, crafting a narrative woven from all their perspectives? In the haze of excitement, her children buzzed around her, eager to infuse their youthful creativity into her vision. The enthusiasm was contagious, and together, they tossed ideas, bouncing off one another with the kind of synergy that felt thrilling. Yet overshadowing this budding collaboration was the lingering question. How would Judy respond if her truths were not warmly received? With her heart pounding against a backdrop of laughter and collaboration, she stood at another crossroads. The moment beckoned. Would she fully embrace this journey, show her family and the world who she was, flaws and all? Embracing vulnerability promised both liberation and peril, a high-stakes gamble with no guarantees that she wrapped up the afternoon's adventures. The taste of resolve tinged with uncertainty lingered. Would sharing their family's culinary saga empower her, or expose cracks she had yet to confront? The walls of her emotional fortress felt tenuous, and she could feel the stakes rising as her vision clarified. She gathered her screen for one last glance, that day a blank canvas ready to be filled with her evolving story and experiences. But as she closed her laptop, a looming question remained. In the pursuit of unveiling her journey to the world, how would it reshape her sense of self, and what hidden truths would emerge in the process? Every key pressed further into uncharted territory, and that discovery compelled her to reconsider the lengths she would go to find her voice. Judy woke the next morning with a mixture of determination and anxiety. The light streaming through her kitchen window seemed to mock her apprehension. It was a bright new day filled with possibilities, yet Judy felt the weight of expectation bearing down on her. She had embarked on a personal journey to develop her blog, allowing her vulnerabilities to be exposed before the world. But was she truly ready for it? As she prepared breakfast, her children, with their infectious energy, dashed around the kitchen, reminding her of the project's collaborative spirit. Yet, doubts crept back into her mind. What if they faltered in their enthusiasm? What if the shared voice she envisioned turned into conflicting narratives? She needed to address these fears, not just for herself, but for the sake of their collaboration. After breakfast, she gathered her children at the kitchen table, eager to harness their insights. "Let us brainstorm together," Judy announced, trying to keep her voice steady despite the trepidation bubbling within her. She unfolded a whiteboard and picked up a marker, scratching out headings for blog categories: health tips, family recipes, and wellness anecdotes. The children enthusiastically offered suggestions, but as their voices intermingled, Judy struggled to keep up. Each idea, a small flame of inspiration, ignited her passion. They discussed incorporating their individual experiences with food and health, giving Judy's blog a familial warmth that made it uniquely theirs. The brainstorming session flowed. Judy felt a transformative wave of self-awareness wash over her. She realized that this was more than a project, it was an opportunity to redefine her role in her family. This blog could serve as an instruction manual for her children, a way to impart wisdom while embracing her own vulnerabilities. Yet it also raised a poignant dilemma. How could she openly share her struggles without the fear of them perceiving her fragility? The internal conflict brewed. On one hand, authenticity was crucial to her narrative. On the other, she worried that too much honesty might cloud their youthful perceptions. As the sun continued its ascent, Judy had a moment of clarity. Her weaknesses could serve as a source of strength, a reminder that vulnerability is part of the human experience. The sense of renewed resolve settled over her, and she began writing down their ideas as they flew through the air like colorful confetti. They spoke of favorite family dishes, recipes passed down through generations, and even humorous kitchen disasters. Laughter echoed through the kitchen as each suggestion sparked joy. Yet, amidst the merriment, Judy couldn't shake the thought of her impending reveal, the weight of her truth about living with chronic pain. It felt like a delicate thread, weaving through their creative tapestry. Would there be a reaction of understanding or bewilderment when she opened up? What if their excitement waned when they glimpsed her struggles? The depth of her fears clashed against her desire for connection, the desire to inspire both her children and potential readers. What if her journey resonated with others who felt alone in their battles? The thought invigorated her resolve. She could empower herself and others simultaneously, in the quiet moments following their impassioned brainstorm. Judy paused, reflecting on how this family project demanded more than just cooperation. It required a candid look into the essence of who she was. The realization jolted her. She couldn't selectively curate her story. It needed to be a complete narrative, with all the raw edges intact. With every question about her health and wellness that she considered writing, a different layer of her own experiences was revealed to herself. Would her children embrace the full spectrum of her reality? Would they perceive her strength and her openness? This project was, after all, as much about them as it was about her. As the sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows through the kitchen, Judy faced the intimidating blank screen of her laptop once. Again, thoughts swirled around her like autumn leaves caught in a breeze, and she was aware that taking this next step required courage. She inhaled deeply, fingers hovering above the keys. The moment demanded fortitude, a leap into vulnerability, a confrontation of her truths. "Let us see where this takes us," she murmured quietly, fingers shaking ever so slightly as they touched the keyboard. The act of writing was itself a doorway to self-discovery. Would this leap into vulnerability grant her the connection she craved, or would it reveal fractures in her carefully built life? The question resonated, echoing in her mind as she began her first sentence. Judy's fingers danced nervously over the keyboard, her heart racing as the blank document stared back at her, taunting her with endless possibilities. Each keystroke provided a release, but shadows of doubt lingered just beyond her consciousness. She understood that sharing her journey wasn't simply about narrating her struggles. It was about forging a connection, perhaps even finding solace in the shared experience of pain. As she typed, she found herself oscillating between excitement and anxiety. She crafted phrases that felt authentic but immediately questioned their impact. Would her honesty inspire her readers, or would it come across as oversharing? She drew in a steadying breath and pushed these fears aside. Vulnerability, she reminded herself, was not a weakness. It was an invitation for others to relate. With the structure of her blog slowly forming, Judy recalled her attempts to articulate her experiences with chronic pain. It had often felt isolating, like shouting into an abyss. But now, portraying that reality alongside her family's voices gave her hope. Their shared laughter during the brainstorming session echoed in her ears, sparking her drive to create something genuine. They were a part of her story, and she intended to integrate their perspectives seamlessly. Discover 4 incredible yogurts that transform arthritis pain for those over 60 and boost strength, stood out in bold letters at the top of her document. What if this piece could serve as a bridge uniting her struggle with the emotional stories of her children? She envisioned incorporating anecdotes about family dinners, where a simple yogurt parfait would turn into a moment of joy, a slice of life infused with healing. As she wrote about the first yogurt, a potent anti-inflammatory option enriched with probiotics, she let her mind wander. Would her children understand the nuances of health struggles? Their discussions at the kitchen table lingered in her thoughts, a mix of enthusiasm and innocence. Perhaps she could frame her narrative in a way that highlighted not only her plight, but also the lessons that emerged from it. Judy pressed on, weaving in her experiences with laughter and kitchen mishaps, reminding herself that these snippets were part of the fabric of her family's story, too. But the deeper she delved into her writing, the more she felt the weight of her truth looming overhead. Would her revelations about pain and vulnerability alter her children's perception of her? A pang of doubt struck her. What if they began to see her not as the resilient mother who fights through the day, but as someone diminished by her ailments? Images of their curious glances on the kitchen table surfaced, and she momentarily froze, eyes fixed on the screen. It was one thing to write about the yogurt, but another to delve into her emotional landscape without reservation. She considered her audience, the potential readers hoping for guidance, the aching followers seeking understanding. Would they find comfort in her shared experiences and solutions, or would they be deterred by her honesty? As the sun descended behind the horizon, painting the room in hues of orange and pink, Judy made a decision. She would not shy away from potential discomfort. Instead, she would embrace it. Writing required sacrifice. It demanded that she be willing to expose her layers, including the fragility she felt at times. Each keystroke would be a testament to her dual role as a mother and an individual navigating life's obstacles. The final sentence emerged with a surge of clarity. Underneath her fears lay an unyielding commitment to authenticity, a commitment she was determined to honor. Judy hit save and felt a profound shift within her. A blend of relief and exhilaration coursed through her veins. As she prepared to draft her next piece, called Finding Strength in Family, a thought struck her with unexpected force. Could sharing this side of her life also mean confronting the stigma of pain? A heat rose in her cheeks at the thought. Was she really ready for that? The weight of that question hung heavily in the room, echoing the tension of the moment. What would her next step entail? Would she summon the courage to fully expose herself, not only to her readers, but to her children as well? The pathway ahead blurred with possibilities, and Judy felt the pull of her impending confrontation with her truth. The reckoning was close, and she could practically feel its presence, urging her forward. Judy stared at the blank document that loomed before her once again, a blank canvas echoing her inner turmoil. The title she had just typed remained glaringly bold, mocking her uncertainty about the direction of her next piece. This was more than just writing about yogurt and its health benefits. It was about redefining her identity and forging a narrative that reflected her growth. She sat back in her chair, the weight of her emotions pressing down on her. Each word she had previously crafted felt like a fragile bridge leading her into intimate territory, one she had always been hesitant to traverse. Would unveiling her struggles with pain and vulnerability alienate her children or, conversely, draw them closer? The nagging voice of doubt twisted her stomach, urging her to retreat into safer topics. But there was a fire beneath that uncertainty, one ignited during her earlier sessions with her family. Surely, they understood the layers behind the surface of her experiences. Maybe framing her narrative through shared family moments would serve as a testament to her strength. The mask she wore as a resilient mother, while compelling, was incomplete without the acknowledgement of her battles. She closed her eyes. She envisioned the kitchen filled with laughter. Memories of her children devouring yogurt parfaits danced in her mind, intertwined with the bittersweet note of fatigue that often followed her family dinners. They had shared stories over those meals, moments filled with laughter, frustration, and love. If she could summon the authenticity of those dinners, perhaps she could find a greater depth in her writing, one that showed both her weaknesses and her perseverance. With renewed determination, Judy began drafting a new approach. Instead of strictly adhering to a health-focused article, she could contextualize her struggle with arthritis against the backdrop of everyday life. Each yogurt choice would mirror her hierarchical needs for comfort and healing. As she traced her fingers over the keyboard, she felt an urge to incorporate her children's perspectives, how they navigated their roles as caretakers and supporters amidst her struggle. What if she included snippets from conversations they had, blending their innocent questions and empathetic responses into her narrative? That thought rippled through her mind like a current, propelling her forward, igniting her creativity. Writing itself became a form of healing, and she realized that she was not only sharing her journey, but inviting her children into a deeper understanding of her world. But the prospect of vulnerability still loomed large. Would exposing her truth hinder the perception her children had of her? There was an underlying fear of their possibly viewing her through a lens of pity instead of respect. Yet, this fear was counterbalanced by the potential rewards, a more profound connection that might even inspire them to embrace their challenges. She took a deep breath, her heart steadying as she began to surrender to the process. The words flowed more freely now, and with each keystroke, she felt an increasing sense of purpose. Inviting her family into her narrative would not diminish her role. Rather, it would strengthen the bonds they shared. However, her journey was not without its potholes. Each mention of her pain in the writing was a reminder of the vulnerability she was choosing to embrace. Would she encounter backlash? Could her candidness open doors to constructive conversations, or would it merely serve as fodder for judgment? With her fingers poised over the keyboard, Judy realized she could allow the tension of anticipation to linger. As she crafted sentences about her struggles and strengths, a quiet exhilaration washed over her, the thrill of choosing to be brave in the face of doubt. As she prepared to tackle the final pieces of her article, a sudden thought pierced through her focus. What exactly would she say when faced with her children's questions about her experiences? The prospect of that conversation loomed large, intertwining apprehension. With a sense of duty, her heart raced. With that contemplation finalizing in her mind, she hesitated, fingers suspended above her keyboard. Was she truly ready to engage them in a deeper dialogue about her pain? The moment of reckoning was closer than she realized, and the path unfurling before her became clearer, yet fraught with the tension of uncertainty. Judy inhaled deeply, grounding herself before returning her attention to the glowing screen. The weight of her earlier doubts still loomed large, but amid this psychological turbulence was the unmistakable flicker of resolve. She had to accept that sharing her journey, both the highs and lows, offered an opportunity for her children to witness her authentic self. As she fought against the instinct to rewrite, to revert to safer discussions of nutrition devoid of her truth, her thoughts spun toward the potential impact of her words. What began as a simple article about yogurt had transformed into the possibility of a heartfelt memoir, a piece that might bridge the gap between her experiences and her children's understanding. The blank document was no longer just a canvas. It had become a mirror reflecting her evolving identity. What if my struggles resonate with them? She mused, realizing this could serve not only as a gateway for her reluctance, but also as an avenue for connection. Each sentence she crafted felt like a step deeper into the territory of vulnerability, slowly eroding her fears. Judy began recalling conversations with her children, snippets that encapsulated their caring natures and how they had navigated her health hurdles. "Mom, are you okay?" had become a familiar refrain, laced with concern yet also a testament to their growing empathy. What if she allowed their insights to color her narrative? What if she invited them to witness the strength blossoming from struggles, framing her experiences within the tender fabric of family life? Her fingers danced across the keyboard, augmented by emotional energy. She wrote of weekend breakfasts where yogurt mingled with laughter amidst discussions about school and dreams. She wove anecdotes of her kids asking what she needed, sparking moments of clarity in her pain. Rather than presenting herself as merely a figure of resilience, she began portraying the complexity of motherhood, how love and vulnerability intertwine, how one does not exclude the other. Yet, doubts still crept in. How would she address her children's questions about her pain when they surfaced? What would happen when they confronted the raw honesty of her struggles? Judy paused, allowing the quiet to wash over her. Instead of viewing these questions as potential landmines, what if she wrote them as invitations for conversation? With renewed vigor, Judy explored the thought of addressing these hesitations directly in her writing. Maybe, she thought, I can invite them into this dialogue through my words. She could articulate her fears that by exposing her frailty, she might instill a sense of sadness rather than strength. In this way, perhaps she could dismantle the structures she felt confined by and illuminate a pathway to understanding. As she seamlessly fused the emotionally charged text with factual information about yogurt, she grasped how interconnected her family dynamics were with her health journey. Each example became a tether that pulled them closer together, inviting her children to see both sides of her narrative, the resilient mother they cherished and the vulnerable woman they could empathize with. A swell of gratitude coursed through her as she wrapped up the draft's first iteration. In confronting her struggles, she had inadvertently packaged lessons of resilience and connection, urging her family to lean on each other rather than buckle under the weight of their challenges. Just then, a realization struck her. What if the conversations she'd rehearsed in her head became a natural part of her invincible mother persona? If she could frame her discussions around her health journey, then they could come to understand that true strength lies in vulnerability. As she closed her eyes in silent contemplation, her heart began to race once more. Was she prepared to embody this new narrative? The time had come to bridge not just the gap in her narrative, but the one she'd felt with her children for so long. The engagement would be intense, but perhaps that was the point of this journey: the raw honesty, the healing, and the growth. With her next words hovering just at the edge of her consciousness, she sensed that the moment of truth was nigh, a confrontation with her fears, her children, and the history they would build together from this pivotal moment. Judy's heart thundered in her chest as she hovered over her keyboard, the prospect of sharing her truth with her children looming larger than ever. The opening line of her memoir formed in her mind. It was as if each word begged to be released, yet doubt gnawed at her. Would they understand? Would they be scared? The potential for connection weighed heavily against the fear of their reactions. Both excitement and trepidation danced through her veins, and she took another deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. Her fingers began to type. The essence of yogurt isn't only about its nutritional value. It represents a deeper story than narrative of my life, our life. She felt liberated as she crafted the introduction, revealing the bond of food intertwined with family and treasuring moments spent sharing meals. Her vulnerability transformed into strength, and with it emerged a newfound sense of purpose. As she wrote, she envisioned her children reading her words. Would they see a mother trying her best, one who faltered but rose again? She pictured them unsettled, fists clenched, feeling her pain as if it were their own. But Judy also envisioned them growing the way they might respond, the discussions they could initiate. Instead of fearing their reaction to her struggles, she began to view the narrative as a guide, leading them toward deeper empathy and understanding. With every paragraph, Judy painted a chaotic yet beautiful picture of motherhood, balancing Dr. S appointments, navigating her health, and the joyful moments that came in between. Yet, nagging questions flitted through her mind. What if she began discussing her limitations and fears? How would she explain the days when pain gripped her so tightly she couldn't get out of bed? Could her children really face that reality? She paused. This was the moment for reflection. Sinking back into her chair, she pulled out her journal, a practice that had always allowed her to release her thoughts. She wrote down every question that haunted her. Would they think she was weak? Would they hold her struggles against her? One by one, as she put pen to paper, she addressed her fears, turning them into affirmations. No, she would not be seen as weak. She was showing them what it meant to be human. Judy felt an undeniable shift within. Her fears transformed from barriers into bridges and avenue for her children to not only see her struggles, but to discover their own growing insights. Sharing her vulnerabilities wasn't a mark of shame. Rather, it was an invitation for connection. Emboldened by her own reflections, she returned to her laptop, pulsing with energy. What if she made her struggles the focal point of certain chapters? Could those moments of deeper vulnerability be paired with her journey toward healing? Conversations surfaced to anchor her doubts. Let us talk about what happened, she imagined her children asking, and the very thought ignited a fire within her. More settled now than before, she delineated chapters in her mind. Each chapter could explore a specific moment: the frightening hospital visit, the first time she truly felt her pain, and the beautiful chaos of family meals around a table. She realized those moments weren't just hers. They belonged to them all. However, as Judy drafted potential chapter headings, a shadow of realization flickered through her. The discussions she had rehearsed in her head would stretch far beyond mere words on paper. This was not just her story. It would be a vehicle for cultivating resilience in her children, a chance to nurture their growth through shared experiences. As the words cascaded onto the screen, she felt the exuberance of a new awakening. She would not shy away. This memoir became a manifesto of sorts, celebrating love while uncovering struggle. But with this newfound courage also arrived the weight of responsibility. How would she act once they had read her words? Would she be able to maintain this newfound vulnerability in front of her children? Each revelation she made could change them, bring forth dimensions of their relationship they hadn't explored yet. Reflecting on how much she wanted this transformation for them, an anxiety surged inside her. Would she have the bravery to embrace this new persona in real life? The answer loomed just out of reach, yet Judy felt invigorated by the challenge. The moment to face this newfound identity was arriving swiftly, and she could feel it coming to fruition, the clash of past and present building up to an inevitable confrontation. Would her children rise to meet her vulnerability, or would her revelations tear at the fabric of their bond? A storm of thoughts filled her mind, each competing for attention, as the impending confrontation prepared to break the surface of their relationship. As Judy sat in her kitchen, the warm sun illuminating her workspace, she felt an electrifying energy pulsing through her. Today was not just another day. It was the culmination of her journey, a journey of healing, transformation, and the brave decision to open up to her children and the world. The weight of her previous fears began to dissipate. With each keystroke, she crafted her narrative, determined to share both the struggles and joys of her life. She typed fiercely, channeling her emotions into words that rang with authenticity. Her blog had blossomed, flourished with anecdotes about the yogurts that had become not just health elixirs, but symbols of resilience. They had sparked transformation not only in her body, but also in her heart. She had the potential to inspire others, to show them how strength could arise from vulnerability. This is it, she thought. Sharing my story can help someone else who feels alone. With her narrative taking shape, Judy's thoughts turned to the impending conversation with her children. She envisioned them gathered around the kitchen table, sharing not only recipes but their thoughts on her experiences. The excitement bubbled up inside her. What had once seemed daunting was evolving into an opportunity for connection. I can teach them the importance of carrying our stories with pride, she reminded herself. Judy carefully crafted an outline for the discussion. The approach was simple. Share the blog post first, allow for questions, and then shift into a conversational space where they could explore emotions together. She was prepared to unravel the depth of her journey, from her struggles with arthritis to her successful integration of her mother's recipes into modern health practices. The vision of that moment fueled her determination to get the words just right. That evening, she gathered her children for dinner, a feast punctuated with the delightful dishes she had prepared, incorporating those transformative yogurts. As they took their seats, laughter bounced around the table, a joyous prelude to what was to come. The atmosphere shimmered with warmth, but Judy's heart raced, anticipation gnawing at her resolve. Would they understand? Would they embrace her truth? After the last bite, Judy cleared her throat, the moment teetering on the brink of transformation. I've been working on a blog about our health journeys and my experiences with arthritis, she began, her voice steady yet filled with vulnerability. She watched as their eyes widened with curiosity. It's more than just recipes. It's about showing how we overcome challenges together. As she unveiled her words, she felt the barrier of apprehension begin to fade. The children were engaged, asking questions, reflecting with compassionate curiosity. "Mom, I didn't know you felt that way," one of them said, their voice trembling with emotion. That must have been hard. In that moment, she felt the shift. The very connection she had longed for was burgeoning in front of her eyes. They were not only getting a glimpse of her vulnerabilities, they were also stepping into a newfound sense of understanding. As the discussion deepened, she sensed her children absorbing her truths with tenderness, forging a deeper bond through their shared experiences. It was a tremendous moment of growth both for Judy as a remarkable mother and for her children who were starting to grasp the complexities of life together. Days passed, and Judy's blog began to receive feedback from a growing audience. Readers reached out, sharing their own stories and how Judy's vulnerability had resonated with them. The realization of her impact felt validating. She had turned personal trials into a collective healing experience. Every comment added layers to her self-confidence. No longer did she feel like a scripting mother bound by her definition of strength. She had become a source of inspiration and affirmation. Her relationship with her children thrived as they dove into joint culinary projects and further engaged in seeking holistic solutions to health. Rewarding moments were now frequent. In moments of sharing her creations with others, Judy exuded a sense of accomplishment, and her children implemented lessons learned in their own lives. They embraced wellness as a family, exploring new foods and health opportunities while laughing through kitchen mishaps. Judy stood in the heart of her garden once more, her fingers feeling the soft earth beneath. Determined not to allow arthritis to solely define her narrative, she realized she had reclaimed her identity not just as a mother, but as an active participant in life. Growth reflected in her garden, exuberant colors blooming as evidence of her journey. Watching her children flourish, she felt profound satisfaction. She had achieved more than just physical relief. She had harmonized with her past, embraced her present, and carved out a path toward a vibrant future. Empowered, Judy recognized the transformative power of storytelling. This chapter of her life served as a testament to resilience her and her family est. With a surge of joy, Judy committed herself to new endeavors, where every blog post would fuel her journey and inspire others to step into their own truths. She had charted a course to navigate vulnerability heartily, one filled with love and shared growth. Judy smiled knowingly, feeling the warm sun casting its rays upon her, both a comforting embrace and a reminder of the beautiful unfolding that lay ahead. This was her moment of victory. She had conquered her self-doubt, radiating with newfound confidence, standing tall in her reflected identity. And now it's your turn. You need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that resonate deep. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, making a difference for all those searching for inspiration. Comment your reactions and connect with the journey. Let us share in this transformative experience. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion of resilience and transformation.